There's a sentence that seems small, 4 words. I'm proud of you. And for some people, it's just something you hear growing up. After a game or after a test or after graduation. But for others, it's something you spend your entire life chasing. And sometimes you never hear it. I think most people underestimate how powerful that sentence is. It's not about ego. It's not about needing validation for every little thing. It's about acknowledgement. And it's about someone looking at your effort and saying, I see you. And when that doesn't happen, especially from parents, teachers, or coaches, it can shape you in ways you don't even realize. So let's start with parents. When you're a kid, your world is very small. It's very compact. Your parents are the scoreboard. They're the mirror. They're something you look at as a reflection of yourself. And they're the definition of quote unquote good job. If they celebrate you, you feel capable. If they're silent, you start wondering what's missing. And sometimes the silence isn't just mean or cruel, it's just high standards or uh, emotional distancing. Or it's like, well, that's what you're supposed to do. You get straight A's, that's supposed to be expected of you. You won the game, good, do it again. You behaved well, that's normal. You should be doing that. But somewhere along the way, you start associating love with performance. So my whole life, I've been very out of touch with school. I mentioned it in a previous video. I've never been a big school guy. All through high school, I don't think I ever peaked above a 2.5 GPA. It was just never my thing. I never tried, I never gave it a shot, and I always underperformed. My freshman year of college, however, I played a sport, and I kind of had to keep my grades up, which wasn't an excuse because I ended up having to quit those sports because of injuries, but my freshman year of college, I ended up getting a 3.2 GPA. And during that, I was really expecting that to be the time to hear it, if anything. Because growing up playing sports, my parents never came to any games. So I never got a I'm proud of you or good job after a game. I mean, I got an occasional one, but nothing that really stuck. Because sports I always did well, but school I never did. And so when I finally did do well, I was expecting some sort of praise. I mean, it's kind of selfish to say that I expected it, but it was my first ever time breaking a 3.0 GPA. And when I told my parents, they were like, about time. And I'm like, about time? That's what you have to say? You couldn't just say one time, good job, that you're proud and, hard work did finally pay off. And it felt like a punch in the chest, a punch in the stomach. I didn't know how to feel after that. Now next, I kind of just want to talk about teachers and coaches as well. Authority figures outside your home, because they can either reinforce your confidence or they can destroy it. Because if you're praised for your effort, you grow. And if you're only acknowledged when you're exceptional, you start fearing making mistakes. Because now your identity is tied to an achievement. You're not allowed to slip and you're not allowed to be average. And then the sentence, I'm proud of you, it's only reserved when you're perfect. And after that, you start chasing perfection. It doesn't make you happy, and it doesn't make you grow, because chasing perfection is not possible. So here's where it gets complicated, that sometimes the absence of praise doesn't make you weak. It makes you high achieving, disciplined, resilient, and also it makes you anxious. Because no matter how much you achieve, you never feel like it's enough. You hit one goal and you immediately raise the bar, or you change the bar to something outside of your range. You accomplish that big thing and then your brain doesn't even have time to celebrate. It just goes, all right, what's next? Because somewhere deep down, you're still waiting for someone to say, that's enough, I'm proud of you. When I graduated high school, yes, I graduated. I had one of the lowest GPAs, one of the lowest passing GPAs in our senior class. And having guy friends, it's a little different because they're gonna get on you about anything and everything. So after graduation, after I got done spending time with my family, a lot of the guys were pretty much just coming up to me. Nobody mentioned a good job or you did it. It was a how did you do it, or I can't believe you did it. For graduation, it was supposed to be a moment that was so happy, but it was so overshadowed by all my friends doubting me, and it was a quieter moment than I expected it to be. And in the end, it made me minimize who I thought I was and what I thought of myself. There's another side to this too. And that's the pressure of perfection. Because when praise is conditional, you learn that mistakes equal disappointment. So you avoid risk, or overprepare, or you try your best to not show weakness. Because if you mess up, you're not just failing, you're losing that approval. And I think that's what caused me to become so hyper aware and hyper vigilant. Because I was always calculating how to stay above the bar and stay impressive. And it got super exhausting. But here's also something that I realized. Sometimes the people who didn't say, I'm proud of you, grew up never hearing it themselves. Sometimes it's generational and cultural. And sometimes they thought their role was to push you and not praise you. But that doesn't erase the impact. It adds context, and context can soften that resentment. I don't think in my life that I've ever directly asked to be praised from anyone, because that just seems selfish and undeserving. I've also come to accept that some people just will not say it. My mom, she will not say it. Maybe my siblings if something big happens, but at the end of the day, it's just, you can't expect it. It feels selfish to expect it when it's not, because it's just a human need. I've surrounded myself with people who do say that and who do praise people recently, but that doesn't change the fact of what happened growing up not hearing it and the impact that that took on me not hearing it. When I hear it nowadays, like when I got my first job, like good job, or when I decided to go back to school, you know, getting praise, you don't know how to react. You kind of just shut down. Well, I shut down at least. And it's just different because getting praise from these new people that I've met, like, they don't know anything about who I used to be. So when I don't react in the way they want, they get confused, and I'm like, dude, I've just never heard this before. You know, like, why are you so proud of me? You don't even know me. But here's the thing. If you grew up not hearing, I'm proud of you, you probably crave it in other places that you don't even realize. In relationships, friendships, work environments, you light up when someone acknowledges your effort, and you shut down when it's overlooked, because it's something deeper than the present moment. But the opposite is true as well. So some people heard it constantly. They were celebrated, encouraged, and that builds a different foundation. It's not perfect, but it's reliable and steady. And they don't question whether they're enough. They assume they are, and that difference is super subtle. But the turning point is, at some point, if you don't hear it from others, you have to learn to say it to yourself. And that sounds super cliche, but it's not. Because if your entire motivation is external, you will burn out, you will overwork, and you will constantly feel behind. Because external praise is unpredictable. Sometimes it never comes. So you have to build it internally. And you have to look at yourself and say, I tried my best and that was growth. Doesn't mean you stop wanting it, it just means you're not dependent on it. You can still appreciate hearing I'm proud of you, but you're not destroyed by the silence anymore. I think the hardest part is realizing how much that sentence shaped you and how much it shaped me. How much of my ambition, my anxiety, my drive, my fear of failure might trace back to just these 4 words, or the lack of them. So if you are someone who didn't hear it much growing up, I get it. That absence can feel louder than any criticism. But here's what I will say. The fact that you kept going anyway, the fact that you're still here, the fact that you built discipline without constant validation, or even that you're reflecting on this and watching this all the way through, that says something. And maybe no one said it enough, but that doesn't mean it wasn't deserved. And if you're someone who does have people in your life now, just say it. Friends, siblings, partner. I'm proud of you is free, and it can change someone's entire week, maybe even their entire trajectory. It's just 4 words, a small sentence, but you never know how massive of an impact it could be. And whether you heard it 100 times or you're still waiting, it matters way more than people think.